Yes, that Oppenheimer review embargo has lifted, which means your feed is flooded with Oppenheimer reviews, so I do appreciate you clicking on this review in particular. Good news is, it's going to be a really easy review. It's my favorite kind of review. This movie is epic. So Oppenheimer is written and directed by Christopher Nolan. As I understand it, it's based off of the book American Prometheus, stars Cillian Murphy as J. Robert Oppenheimer, who's known as the father of the atomic bomb. And this is a biopic chronicling his life leading up to the Manhattan Project, him doing the Manhattan Project, and what came after the Manhattan Project. The good, the bad, the heavy. It's here. Now, Cillian Murphy is absolutely brilliant in this film as J. Robert Oppenheimer. There's something about Cillian Murphy's eyes that pierce absolutely. That lends to those heavy moments of regret and despair that he feels later on in the film, absolutely. Whether it's with a stare or him delivering dialogue, his performance in here is an absolutely soulful and heavy one. I suppose I should backtrack because it doesn't start out that way. You know, he starts out, he's a pretty relatable guy. I mean, true neutral, absolutely. I like that about him. In the D&D personality scale, he was true neutral. I just appreciate people like that. He's a flawed human, but we're all flawed humans, maybe in different ways. But I was surprised at how relatable he was, which is why it makes it so much worse when he becomes the guy who's like, I just wanted to help the world, and it's worse because of me. Because it's easy to be like, oh, father of the atomic bomb. But it's like, yeah, but what does that do to somebody? What does that do to the person who made the device that killed that many people? Someone who's not a military mind. He's a scientist. Cillian Murphy makes you feel all of it. He's always been an incredible actor, but this is the kind of performance that an actor gives that is truly special. Everyone in the movie actually did a great job. It's a packed cast. I cannot logistically list off the entire supporting cast here. Emily Blunt, Jason Clarke, Robert Downey Jr., Matt Damon, and more. There are people in this movie I didn't know were in this movie. It's like, you too? Kind of shows how many people just want to work with Christopher Nolan at this point. I think that's great. But also, Robert Downey Jr., another amazing performance. It's one of those performances, I don't logistically know the exact number. I don't know how many minutes of screen time he had. It's like, ever since I learned Anthony Hopkins had like 15 or 16 minutes of screen time in Silence of the Lambs, I always question that. I don't know why, it's just a me thing. From then on, I don't think he had a lot of screen time, but when I think of the movie, I absolutely am going to think of him and his performance. I love the fact that Robert Downey Jr. doesn't have to work a day in his life. And at that point, sometimes actors will be like, yeah, I can phone it in, get a paycheck, it'll be fine. Robert Downey Jr. must have more money from those fuck you Marvel paychecks than Heisenberg at this point. No, I'm not talking about the German scientist. I'm talking about the fictional drug kingpin. And the dude's still like, I'll clock on an amazing performance and knock it out of the park. I don't have to, but I want to. It was incredible to watch. And what I loved most about this, what gripped me, is this feels like a cinephile's film. It feels like a film for film fans. For the love of cinema and the art of cinema, in that Francis Ford Coppola, Bram Stoker's Dracula kind of way. You know, that movie grabs me. One of the reasons it does anyway is because the visual effects in that movie are all in-camera effects. They're all practical, and I'd heard that flex for this movie, for Oppenheimer. No CGI anywhere in this movie, and I appreciate that. It's kind of funny how the flex is flipped, where it used to be like, this movie has 3,000 CGI shots. That's the flex. Now the flex is the opposite. It's reversed. Now the flex is 0. And that's as cool as it gets. And it's not just for the nuke scene like I thought it was going to be like, okay, the nuke scene's going to be practical. That's cool. Not with the nuke, other explosives, but okay, it's going to be practical, but it's not just that. There are scenes when Oppenheimer's in his head showing how he views the world and what he thinks about. You see space, supernova, he thinks about quantum theory, you see atoms whizzing around. It's easy to not even think about it when you're so used to movies having CGI, but when you see moments like that with practical effects and it feels practical, it feels tangible, it feels like it's something in the world, it's completely different. It's a magical experience. I appreciated and connected with the film on a level I wasn't expecting to because of the absence of CGI in scenes and shots that otherwise would have had CGI. Christopher Nolan's the type of director who inspires people to be directors. Things like that are why. As for the nuke scene, I don't know about you. I love seeing nukes in movies. It's just a fun thing. And any other movie, I'd be like, yeah, the nuke, it's coming, let's do it. I didn't feel like that in here, and I appreciated that. I love the fact that when it's leading up to the bomb, the movie doesn't really logistically revolve around that. It is about Oppenheimer. It's properly titled. It's about him and the work he did and the aftermath of it. Not that one thing he did. But when it was leading up to the bomb, you feel the fear in the room, the anxiety, the tension. I love the fact that Christopher Nolan was like, yeah, you're looking forward to the bomb. We're gonna make it look cool. But that's not what's important. The thing I remember from that scene is the look on Cillian Murphy's face while he's watching it. It's the reaction of Oppenheimer that's important. Oppenheimer wasn't overshadowed in his own film, in his own biopic, by the bomb. I feel like it'd be easy for that to be the case. I will say the last hour or so of this film relies on a lot of exposition. It deals with the government and Oppenheimer, and you're hearing about things that happened, but you're not necessarily seeing those things. I would have liked to have seen those things. But if it showed those things, this movie would be 5 hours long as opposed to 3. The last hour or so of this film could be its own film. It could be a, sneaky government paranoia courtroom drama, but technically not a courtroom drama, but still the vibe of a courtroom drama type film. I mean, it's hard to condense a man's life who did all this, did so much, and dealt with so much after the Manhattan Project into a 3-hour film. It's a great 3-hour film that works well for its runtime and actually tells more than you would think they could put into this 3-hour runtime. The musical score was amazingly haunting and swells when it needs to. It's absolutely impactful. There are a couple moments of tension in here where the musical score absolutely knocked it out of the park. But what I liked about the audio mixing with the musical score is some Christopher Nolan movies recently have, the audio's been a bit uneven and the musical score is kind of overridden the actors' voices and the dialogue. Couldn't really hear what was going on so clearly. This movie does not have that problem. I appreciate that. I don't mind saying this is Christopher Nolan at his heaviest. We've had some good times, we've had some action adventures, but if someone said this is Nolan going for his Oscar, I wouldn't argue it, but I would add, yeah, and the cool thing is, it doesn't feel like he's trying for the sake of that. You know how it is, some Oscar bait, you're like, yeah, why not just beg for it? This is just Christopher Nolan making good dramatic stuff. The story, performances, filmmaking, editing, all top tier. It's a visually beautiful, epic tragedy, and it is awesome-tacular. I already want to see it again because the screening wasn't in 70mm IMAX. It was 70mm film, not IMAX. I really want to see this in IMAX. It's as simple as that. All right, so Oppenheimer, have you seen it? What did you think about it? Whatever you thought, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.